Thank you for watching. This is part 2 of my video where I review a presentation made 5 years ago by Father Matt Hartley. His presentation had 2 parts. One was about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the other was about Jehovah's Witnesses. Now it's time for me to defend Jehovah's Witnesses from somebody who gave inaccurate information sometimes in his presentation. I'm not saying his presentation was 100% lies, but sometimes he was not careful about keeping his facts straight. So, he said that it was founded in 1872 by Charles Taze Russell, and he claimed they will lie to you and give you an earlier date. But he did not specify how early of a date they would say. And I spent a few minutes this morning, but I've got to get to work later today, so there's a limit to how much time I could spend on it. But I spent a few minutes looking at the Jehovah's Witness website, jw.org. That is their official website, so if you want to learn something about them, that is the best place to go. Not a Catholic father who's got an axe to grind. Let's see. He did not say what date they would pick, what date they would say, and he claimed like that's the earliest that we have any writings or records of. I would trust the Jehovah's Witnesses if they don't say something crazy like they were around from 2000 or from the beginning. I mean, I look at the true prophets in the past as following the true and living God, the same God I worship, but I don't look at them as part of the same movement or the same earthly organization. Alright, he was raised as a Protestant, tried to convert an atheist. At one point when he was young, he ended up being converting himself to agnosticism. Then he saw a Bible study by an Advent meeting, and in 1879 he started the Watchtower. In 1916 he was succeeded by Judge R. Rutherford. In 1931 Rutherford changed the name. I think it was Watchtower Society to Jehovah's Witnesses. What year was that? In the 1930s, the members of that church would take out portable phonographs, and that was their way of getting the word out door to door with a portable phonograph. That was something in San Diego. In San Diego they did that. In 1942 he died, and Nathan Homer seceded and got rid of the phonographs and started a new world translation, the Bible translation that the Jehovah's Witnesses use. And a Catholic father claimed that the Jehovah's Witnesses keep secret who were the translators, but former witnesses revealed it, and their translators had no credentials. God does not need to use credentialed people, so I find that to be a very weak argument. Although I'm not saying the Jehovah's Witnesses translation of the Bible is the best, my opinion of both of the groups here involved here, the Catholic Church and Jehovah's Witnesses, my opinion of both of them is both of them are not the true Church of Jesus Christ. And but I'm looking for ways where the Catholic in the video to which I'm responding did not give Jehovah's Witnesses a fair shake. Because if there was a Jehovah's Witness who watch the same video, I would hope they would do the same for me, and I'm going to do it first to them. Let's see. Father Hartley gave the stats for how many members there are of Jehovah's Witnesses, or something like that. He pointed out they spend 60 to 100 hours a week in evangelization. Yep, they're willing to walk around door to door. I have respect for them for that. They must really care about me and or their religion. And so, but Father Hartley, I think he was trying to say that's a negative. Or maybe he was, no, didn't he say, like, what if the Catholics would have that much enthusiasm? Alright, then he got into specifics about their teachings. Jesus is the son of Jehovah. Jesus is the Son of God and not God, and he's inferior to God, according to them. You know, there's a third position. It doesn't have to be Jesus inferior, that means he's not God, or Jesus is equal and thus God. But what if Jesus was subservient to Father in heaven, because he is the Father in heaven, and it was his plan and his idea and his will for things to happen, but Jesus also was truly the God of the Old Testament. You know, the one that God sent, that God the Father sent to talk to Moses in the burning bush, to talk to King Solomon at the start of his reign before he messed up really bad. Okay. Jesus was created, and they don't believe the Trinity. Hey, yeah, the Trinity is false. Now, I'm not saying every single idea, concept, or word in the Trinity. The Trinity is something that would take a small book to thoroughly explain what one person means when they say the Trinity. Most people are quoting or thinking of the Nicene Creed, and the Athanasius Creed, the Apostles' Creed, or the names of those different creeds, their description of God. And those descriptions of God are not 100% accurate and not revelations from God. And so I look at it as a positive that the Jehovah's Witnesses don't, glom on to those false doctrines. But they try to actually learn from the Bible. Okay, they believe Michael the Archangel is Jesus. That's not common ground between Jehovah's Witnesses and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's also not common ground between the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Catholic Church. Not resurrected. Yep. So let's see. Not resurrected. Dead. Jehovah's Witnesses look at the resurrection differently than Catholics and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They believe that, well, we don't have a spirit, so that affects what they look at, how they look at what happens when we die, and what a resurrection means, because to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and Catholicism too, here's common ground between Catholicism and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, resurrection means the spirit that was still alive after you died gets a new body. But to a Jehovah's Witness, this time I think the Catholic was being fair in describing how the Jehovah's Witnesses believe. And Jehovah's Witnesses believe that God's going to resurrect people, but it's going to be just creating them all over again, maybe with the memories. Let's see. And then 144,000 of people who do what Jehovah wants will go to heaven, according to Jehovah's Witnesses, and the rest will remain on earth. And in 1935, that 144,000 was completed. So everyone's, this idea or thought of theirs, I don't agree with it, but it's not as crazy as some people try to make it sound. There is a verse in the Bible in Psalms which says the righteous will inherit the earth. And, well, one way for that to be fulfilled is if God makes this earth a paradise again and the people get to live on the earth who are obeying God. So, there's my defense of how the Jehovah's Witnesses are not crazy for having that. I feel the need to chime in with how I understand that. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' understanding of that verse, or what we would do with that. We expect this earth that we are on now to be converted to becoming the celestial kingdom at final judgment. And so that's how the righteous will be on this earth. Okay, Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in a hell where people will eternally be there, but they believe in annihilation. So those who God does not want to be living after resurrection and judgment, they will just be burnt up and cease to exist. Let's see, I think he gave an accurate summary of the Jehovah's Witness belief on that. Jehovah's Witnesses, chime in the comments section if I got anything wrong or he got anything wrong. I'm trying not to get anything wrong. I'm trying not to do to you what he did to me. And alright, he talked about disfellowship. Blood transfusions can get you disfellowshipped. And if you go to another church, he said that's another thing that gets you disfellowshipped. If somebody gets disfellowshipped, they can go to the Kingdom Hall, but at the Kingdom Hall, according to the Catholic priest summary of it, the others are supposed to act like they don't even exist, no speaking, even to their own family members. The blood transfusion thing, the explanation I've found about that is that your blood is your life, and so you're giving your own life if you give a blood transfusion. Until I found that explanation, I thought it was because there's a verse in the Old Testament that prohibits the drinking and eating of blood, and I thought the Jehovah's Witnesses were taking that verse and metaphorically running with it, that the Jehovah's Witnesses were looking at that verse and saying it says not to eat blood. A blood transfusion is putting blood into the body. That's like eating blood. Alright, Father Hartley's explanation about why is, since they don't believe you have a spirit, everything in your body is just what is all that there is, and so you need to be careful with what you have or something. See, if he would have looked a little harder, he would have found that they believe that it's your life, and you are giving your life away, then you don't have the right to give your life away if you give blood. Although I find that a weak argument. He pointed out that there are no hospitals, sanatoriums, schools, orphanages, colleges, social welfare organizations, because they believe it's all going to pass away. Because the second coming is coming very soon, and why build something that's, not going to last long? I doubt this is, well, I don't know about Jehovah's Witnesses doing any of those things. But if you know about the Jehovah's Witnesses running a hospital, running an orphanage, a school, describe it in the comment section. But I doubt that that's the logic behind it. They spend great amounts of time trying to help people. That's what they're doing when they're going door to door, is they're trying to help you. So that I don't know what the reason is. They don't have a bunch of hospitals about which they can brag. They could even have a no blood transfusion hospital set up. But I'm skeptical that the Father Hartley got it right about why they do that. Because I would think that even if things are going to change soon, if you have the money to be able to help people, why not help people? I would think that most people would have that mindset. If you can help people, help people. And that's the mindset Jesus Christ had when he probably knew there was going to be a great apostasy, but he still gave people commands for how to interact as a church that were good. He told people to follow his apostles, that were still in effect, in force, and good for a few years, but not more than 100. Okay, they believe all earthly authority is from Satan, according to Father Hartley. I'm not sure if that's why. I think their refusal to be involved in governments is, even as a voter, is confusing to me, but I think that's because the Bible tells us to be not of this world, and if you're spending time thinking about who you should vote for president, senate, mayor, etc., that you're being too much of this world and not separated enough from it. That's my understanding of why they don't vote, don't accept jobs. I've worked with somebody who was a Jehovah's Witness in the government, but they don't accept a position as a government leader. I don't know if he was living in contradiction to his religion in that way, that he had a government job. Maybe, yep, so they don't serve in the military, and they don't do those things. They don't celebrate Christmas and Easter. I don't think he lied about that one. My understanding of why is they look at those as pagan celebrations or something like that. And they don't celebrate birthdays. He didn't lie about them not celebrating birthdays. To the best of my knowledge, the reason why they don't celebrate birthdays is that every birthday celebration we see in the Bible was thrown for or in honor of a pagan king. And I find that to be a unpersuasive explanation. Those pagan kings also breathe. Do I need to stop breathing? But that's my understanding of why they don't do that. They make two magazines, Awake and Watchtower, which I read when I get the chance to get some food for thought. They write about some things, they give me food for thought about others, and another reason to read those magazines, I think you should, is to understand where somebody else is coming from. I don't think they should be ceremoniously burned, like one of my missionary companions wanted to do to them. The magazine's not the people. He wasn't, bloodthirsty to burn a Jehovah's Witness person, but he wanted to burn their magazines. Let's see, so they don't believe in the divinity of Christ, according to the Catholic priest, and I think you might have gotten that one right. But the Catholic priest's explanation of Jesus Christ is not completely accurate. But a human body and soul, it says that they don't believe Jesus. The Catholic believes Jesus had a human body and soul. He definitely had a human body. A soul, well, we all have a spirit. But for the Jehovah's Witnesses, a son of God means a lesser being. The Catholic priest said son means the same nature. And he gave an example of how an earthly father and an earthly son are equal in that they're both humans. The Jehovah's Witness understanding is about Michael the Archangel, who became Jesus Christ, according to them. And I think the Catholic priests got them accurately on this one. Is that at the incarnation, when he became Jesus Christ, when he was switched over to that, he ceased to be an angel, and then at death he became an angel again. And their understanding of angel is a non-physical being, so he got rid of his body. A Jehovah's Witness friend of mine, made a motion like he was miming taking off a hood when he was explaining it to me. And when Jesus got back up into the sky after showing himself to people after the resurrection, and he took off his body. The witnesses tried to say that Jesus was divine but not God, according to Jehovah's Witness, according to the Catholic priest about them. Okay. Well, Jesus did say, "My Father." I go to my Father, many times in the New Testament. So, there's some food for thought for you. Maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses are not crazy and way out in left field on that one. Alright, he went through some verses that he claims disprove Jehovah's Witnesses. John 20, Thomas says, "My Lord, my God." And Colossians 2:19, "In him the fullness of the divine equality dwells bodily." John chapter 10 verse 30, Jesus said, "I and the Father are one." Okay, "I and the Father are one" could mean, and it does mean, a unity of purpose. I can be one with something that's greater or lesser than me in that sense of being one. We might say a person that needs a working dog, or whether because to do some work or because the dog's helping them. They are one. The dog might pick up on little clues about what the person needs or what needs to be done, or they just work together so good you could say, wow, that's one team, that's just one thing there, those two. John 14, "He who has seen me has seen the Father." Angel, that's what the scripture says. Father Hartley said, angels, an honest angel, or an angel that's not fallen, would not say, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father," because that would be bad to lie. Here you need to look at the context of things. Jesus was letting his disciples know they didn't need to see Father in heaven. They'd seen enough. They'd seen him. That does not mean, his point was to get them to stop asking to have the Father come before them, because they had Jesus there. That's what Jesus could have meant by that, and not that he was saying he and the Father are the same physical being. Isaiah 41:10, "Besides Jehovah there is no Savior, but Jehovah is a Savior." Okay, well, that's a verse that a lot of Christians misinterpret because they don't take into account the verse before and after. But that's interesting to note that maybe that is a verse that actually should have some traction in our minds. But in one verse it says, "There's no God besides me, I know of none others." And then the next verse it says, "There's no Savior besides me." So the Saviorship of Jesus Christ, Jehovah, is what that was getting at. Titus 3:6, "The Spirit was poured out." Revelation 1, Jehovah is the Alpha and Omega. And, okay. But then Revelation 22, Jesus claims to be Alpha and Omega. Deuteronomy 10:16. Alright. Deuteronomy 10:17, Jehovah is called the Lord of Lords. In Revelation 19:16, Jesus is called the Lord of Lords. At the verses about the virgin birth in Matthew, it uses the word Emmanuel, which is the Hebrew words for the name has the meaning in Hebrew language, which is God is with us. God be with us. In John 14, Jesus said he is the way, the truth, and the life, and the way, truth, and the light, and the life. And that's a pretty high statement of what he is. So according to the Catholic Father, since Jesus said that, he's more than what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe about him. Let's see. Here's a quote from a church father, Ignatius of Antioch. Our God, Jesus Christ, was conceived by Mary. So there he uses the word God to describe Jesus Christ. Patian the Syrian said, we talk nonsense when we talk. Our God is born in the form of a man. Let's see. Pagans, according to Father Hartley, acknowledge that early Christians worshipped Jesus as God. Pliny the Younger, from 110 A.D., their habit is to assemble on a fixed day before daylight, recite by terms, form of word to Christ, to Jesus Christ, their God. Okay, then Father Hartley picked out verses from the Bible that the Jehovah's Witnesses use to support their claims and explain why he thinks that they are wrong. John 14:28, the Father is greater than I, Jesus Christ says. According to Father Hartley, that means Jesus as a man. And we need to read the previous statement too. Well, my understanding is that's like Jesus as Jehovah, Father in heaven, is greater than him in that instance too. But I find Father Hartley's explanation there weak. But what if Father Hartley's presenting a false dichotomy to us? What if Jesus could be Jehovah, the God of the Old Testament, the great I Am, and subservient to Father in heaven, even back then? That does not mean he's not our God over us and great. Let's see. John 1:1, in the beginning the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. Father Hartley claims that is a bad translation, that nobody who knows Greek would have translated it that way. If Father in heaven is, God, and Jehovah, or Jesus Christ, pre-earth life is God, pre-earth form is God, that's two, that's plural. So there could be a God if Father in heaven is God and Jesus Christ is God. Let's see. 1 Corinthians. Oh, you see, false God. Oh, wait, Father Hartley claimed, well, if there's any other God, it's only a false God. Well, Father Hartley, did you hear yourself? You just called Jesus Christ a false God because Jesus Christ did say the thing that, some of the things are in the scriptures that let us know that he's subservient to Father in heaven and that there is more than just Jesus Christ. There's Jesus Christ and Father in heaven. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 4 through 6. God... That one, according to Father Hartley, lets us know if there's any other God. They're false. Okay, I already explained how that's bad logic. Isaiah 44, besides me there is no other God. You think that one refutes the Jehovah's Witnesses. Colossians 1:15. This one disproves Father Hartley, and he brought it up. The image of the invisible God, being the firstborn of all creation. There we go. Firstborn of all creation. That means Jesus Christ had a beginning. And if we're talking about 4,000 years of human history before his birth, that must mean his spiritual birth. That he was the first spiritually born. But let's see. According to Father Hartley, firstborn is like a job title and doesn't mean literally first born. Born first. Born before anyone else was. The Jehovah's Witnesses translation. Alright, he thought it's contradictory that the Jehovah's Witnesses translation of the Bible makes difference between the Son of God and angels, but calls Jesus Michael the Archangel. I don't see how that's a big contradiction in case in, I don't see how that's a big contradiction there, because they're saying that, you know, before being born and after being born, Michael the Archangel. So, let's see, limited knowledge. So, Father Hartley claims Jesus had limited knowledge because that was his human aspect of himself when he was on earth, and not for the reasons the Jehovah's Witnesses would give about that. Alright, he claims that the 144,000 being anointed was created by Judge Joseph Rutherland. He read through Revelation 7 about the 144,000, how they're angels, the destroying angels are not, they're limited in how much damage they're supposed to do until the 144,000 are sealed with the seal on their forehead, a seal on their head. Revelations 14 has the 144,000 too. According to Father Hartley, that is the earth at the second coming, not from the apostles to 1835. He claims that Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the 12 tribes and these 144,000 being virgins is symbolic of something, and so why not the 144,000 be symbolic? Alright, then, yeah, so Father Hartley claimed Revelation 7:9 describes there being a great crowd in heaven, and he thinks that disproves the 144,000 going to heaven and nobody else. That argument does seem to have something to think about there. Not a ridiculous argument on the Father's part. He accuses the Jehovah's Witnesses of having a false dichotomy of people going to heaven, 144,000, everyone else being stuck in a earthly paradise. But is that the most accurate use of the word false dichotomy? They aren't saying that you get to choose, or that there's really, they're saying God's making the two distinctions, but God's going to send you to one or the other, not that you have to choose. Usually a false dichotomy means you're being presented with options you get to choose from that are not accurate. And, alrighty. Father Hartley pointed out the scriptures, according to him, says that everyone has the ability to get saved, to go to the new heaven, the new Jerusalem. Okay, the new Jerusalem is not the new heaven, they're different. And see God. Does he really believe he's going to see something? He's only a spirit. I'm not sure if Catholics believe they're going to see God. Maybe they do. And he said, the Jehovah's Witnesses ask you to give up that for a continuous, harmonious, earthly paradise. Earthly living. Okay, Father Hartley should not have described it this way. You should never say, so-and-so is asking you to give up if you do not believe the thing they're trying to convince you of is real. And you should never say, so-and-so is trying to get you to give up if you don't believe, if they don't believe the thing that you believe is true. The Jehovah's Witnesses are not trying to get you to give up the traditional ideas about what heaven is, because they don't believe that actually exists and is going to be an option for you. And if you don't believe that the earth as a renewed paradise is a viable option, you should not describe them as trying to get you to give up something. And then, yeah. Alright. Then, Father Hartley went through a series of telling us about predictions that did not come true. And I am not going to quote those predictions and what they are for several reasons. One, he had some lies, outright lies, with no basis in fact, in his presentation about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So how do I know he's not lying about the Jehovah's Witnesses? I invite you all to be very skeptical about what he says about other religions, including the earliest Christianity that Jesus started, because he gives inaccurate information about the religion. I can say for certain he gives inaccurate information about the religion I know best. Alright. So, but the other reasons I'm not going to go through, read these quotes of accusations of false predictions, is God's prophets are humans. God does not turn his prophets into a robot. I don't believe the Jehovah's Witness leaders are God's prophets. But if they were, then they would have the option to have their own opinions, speak when they want, and not, not have every single word out of their mouth be a revelation from God. They could make guesses on things. A true prophet of God is allowed to make his own human guesses on things. God could give partial details about something and let the humans hammer out the details, figure things out. And so for those reasons, I'm not going to go through this list of false predictions that Jehovah's Witnesses are accused of making by Father Hartley. And is that the rest of the... And, yep, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Jehovah's Witnesses out there who end up seeing this, feel free to describe in the comment section if I got anything inaccurate. I do not want to mischaracterize anything about anybody else's religion. And I find Father Hartley's arguments against the Jehovah's Witnesses to be rather weak. Not that I'm hoping you will remain a Jehovah's Witness forever, but I don't want you to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses to become a Catholic based on that one video from Father Hartley, because he had a lot of weak arguments, I think. And I do hope that you'll, one of these days, look into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If for nothing else, why not try to understand each other? But maybe when some of you look into it, you'll find out that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the true Church of God. It was founded by God through Joseph Smith in the 1800s. And there you have it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.